I am Sarah Grochin, and I am the dairy livestock educator with Extension Outagamie County. Today's program features two speakers who will provide valuable insights on the importance of traditions in one's family and workplace. Both speakers are with the University of Wisconsin Division of Extension in the Institute of Human Development and Family Relations. Our first speaker is Karen Dickrell. Karen has achieved the rank of Professor of Family Development. She is the Human Development and Relations Educator for Extension Outagamie County. Karen teaches programs which cover a wide range of topics, including family lifespan support systems, caregiving, family resiliency, financial management, and strategic planning. Karen began her work with Extension in 1985 as the Extension Home Economist Assistant Professor in Kewaunee County and moved to Extension Outagamie County in 1990. She believes Extension exists to bring the research of the UW system to the people of Wisconsin. She is passionate about taking that research and using it to meet the needs of the people in Outagamie County. Following Karen, we will hear from presenter Nancy Vance. Nancy is an associate professor of human development and family relations and is a family living educator in Clark County. She has years of experience working in private and nonprofit and public sector of the workforce, but the common thread of her experiences has been to improve the quality of life for children, families, and county residents. Nancy's research and outreach have included lifespan wellness, preparing families for success by promoting nurturing and healthy environments, school success through parenting, and early literacy outreach and family financial preparedness. Again, thank you for joining us.
And I want to welcome everybody to the Heart of the Farm Coffee Chats. Today we're going to talk about the importance of traditions, both at home and on the farm, why we have traditions, and how to get started establishing new ones. Traditions are the cement that keeps families together and helps you withstand the storms that come. So it's a great quote to get us thinking today about the importance of traditions. We're going to be discussing how traditions have provided cultures and society with means of connections and unity. Traditions are found in all sorts of groups and people, families, sports, businesses, just to name a few. Farm families are especially full of traditions. They are interwoven with running a farm, with responsibilities toward the past, present, and future generations. Later, Karen is going to share some ideas on how to create your own new traditions. After the year we've just had, it may be time to reevaluate your traditions and develop some new ones as we emerge to a better way of doing things. So just a little icebreaker, just start thinking about traditions. So what is one word that pops in your mind when we say traditions? Just go ahead and either put it in the chat box or unmute yourself and just kind of share with people what's the word that pops into your head when you hear the word tradition. Reunions, Fiddler on the Roof, holidays, family Christmas. Right, we come up with some really great memories and things that are important to us. Okay, so now the next one is, where have you seen these traditions? Like, I'm going to give you the first one, which is in families. Of course, we have a lot of traditions in families, but have you noticed that there are traditions in other places in your life? And again, just go ahead and chat it in the chat box or unmute yourself. Oh yeah, 4-H and FFA, church, community summer events. I would say like universities and high schools have a lot of traditions also. So, you know, they are all around us and they're a part of our lives. And so we're just going to kind of dig into this and see if we can learn a little more about why we have these things. So the next slide is, what are some of your family traditions? So before we go any further, I just kind of want you to visualize a family tradition that you have. Who's there? Where is it? What makes it so special to you? How did it start? Is it still being practiced, or is it one that you had as a child? So when I look around, I see a lot of smiles. Remembering family traditions stir up so many great memories that it's just pleasant to think about them. Some of our childhood traditions may have passed away along with the family members that celebrated them. Grew up with a family tradition. On Christmas Eve, we would have a traditional Swedish meal, and it was lutefisk. We had Swedish meatballs, which is what everybody ate, and limpa bread and herring and all of that. And it was so important to my grandmother that she preserved that memory and shared it with us. But I have to be honest, none of the grandchildren picked up that tradition. Nobody continued making lutefisk. So it was just one of those traditions that did go by the wayside after she passed. But it's a great memory, and we laugh about it still to this day about, not taking the lutefisk and making the faces and things like that. So research has shown that traditions, whether small or a big part of your family, they all play a role in the resiliency of a family. So what makes something a tradition? Although various definitions exist, traditions and celebrations can generally be thought of as planned habits with significance. Things you do as a family repeatedly over time and with a specific purpose. Different traditions will have a different purpose, but commonly involve items such as passing family values to the next generation, building family relationships, and connecting your family to a broader community. Traditions can be very formal or informal, everything from small to large celebrations. They might include something as simple as the traditional birthday cake or a designated game or movie night. I have a friend who makes chili on the first snowfall of the year. And probably each farm has its own culture and traditions built up over the years. And we would love to hear from you if you're able to put in the chat box on what some of the traditions you have on your farm. Fairs, farm shows, sure. Those are great ones. 4-H. So sometimes we have traditions and we don't even realize that they're traditions. It's just the way that we do things. Okay, so how about the next slide? So we're going to be looking at the 4 purposes of traditions. Traditions are a source of strength, a source of identity, a source of faith, and a connection of generations. The source of strength, research has shown, did a study in North Dakota and Nebraska families, and they found that strongest families have the highest frequency of family rituals or traditions. Okay, so especially under difficult circumstances, traditions can have a positive effect. Family members interviewed for this study spoke of their traditions as anchors in hard time. One person interviewed in the study said, traditions help you know that life goes on. They're like a wonderful cocoon that you can feel wrapped up in and comforted by. So just think about, for example, maybe funerals in your family, how those are handled. This is a time of great grief and stress. So is there a person there that often organizes and coordinates the meal that's traditionally served at the funeral so that the bereaved do not need to deal with these details? So this is one way that a tradition can really help strengthen the family. A source of identity. So research has found a sense of family identity and unity is fostered by traditions. Rituals protect family members against a sense of loneliness and uncertainty in daily living outside of the home. A study found that the highest level of family cohesiveness or sense of togetherness was related to nothing more complicated than family dinner time, sitting down to a meal together. Can any of you identify with this tradition of Sunday meals together? In some families, this is considered a family tradition that involves different generations coming together on that one meal a week. And also, as a plug, next month, the Heart of the Farm discussion is going to be talking about family meals and how they help with developing cohesiveness and identity in families. So stay tuned for next month's. So a source of faith. In one study, a strong connection between faith and tradition was found. The faith is actually irrelevant, whether it's Christmas, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, there are traditions identified with the specific faith. So it might be a Christmas Eve service or a Jewish Sabbath, a pilgrimage to Mecca or Chinese New Year. Think of all the traditions that your family celebrates that are tied to a religious holiday. Do you have a traditional Easter egg hunt with the children, or Christmas Day, dirty Santa gift exchange? What are some of the traditions around the life events, such as weddings and funerals? Even families not connected to an organized religion may show their concern for mankind with family traditions by, for example, working in a soup kitchen at Thanksgiving or buying Christmas gifts at Christmas time for children in a shelter. So traditions also help to preserve the family story. It's the annual reunion to Indiana, summer trips up north, Saturday morning pancakes by Grandpa. These are just small ways to create an identity and traditions that will be remembered with love and repeated. This is what our family does. This is who we are. Like treasured family heirlooms, family traditions help beliefs and practices span generations. Traditions can increase the feeling of belonging for children who understand that they are doing what a parent or grandparent or even great-grandparent did. I worked with a 4-H young person, and every Christmas time they made lefse with their grandmother. And my one story is my grandmother, I grew up in Chicago, she was a fanatical Chicago Cubs fan. And her tradition was every summer she would take just the grandgirls, the grandchildren, but it was just the girls that got to go to a live Cubs game. And I still remember that so fondly. So it's these connections with the generation that came before us that was really important. And Karen's going to take over this one.
Okay, so we are not going to go into a breakout room, but I'd like you to think about sharing. You can unmute yourself or put in the chat some special memories that you have or things that you do for, let's start with birthdays. Is there anything special that you do for family birthdays that you'd like to share, please? Well, I'll share one that I have that I can't find. I was looking this weekend. I couldn't find my tradition bag, but we have a birthday bag. When my parents sold the farm and moved to town, our traditions changed and our birthdays changed because it was a big farm and we'd have picnics under the apple tree and play baseball in the backyard and all kinds of things. But for birthdays, everybody came to the farm and then the farm was sold. So we created a portable tradition bag, which has all kinds of party kits in it, little hats, and a birthday cake hat that you actually wear. It looks kind of ridiculous, but a lot of people have gotten their pictures taken with that hat. So our tradition is to have those kinds of little fun things and noisemakers, and it was portable, so we could take it to different houses. I see the mom makes a chocolate cake. In our office, it's your birthday or work anniversary, you bring in a treat to celebrate. My grandmother bought us ice cream as a large family. We really rarely had that. So that was a real treat that Lori's sharing. And I've sometimes, we've had in our office, although we haven't for 16 months and counting, had a dilly day. And I learned that from a friend of mine who would bring dilly bars from the local Dairy Queen into the office so everyone could enjoy and when they took a break. So we have to have a dilly day pretty soon in Outagamie County, I think. And that's oftentimes to celebrate a birthday. Are there other holidays or things that you would do in your neighborhood that you would like to share of traditions that you've done? I can think of the Turba family. I lived in Sheboygan County near St. Anne, and the Turba family would have a sledding party. I think it was the first Sunday after the New Year. So their friends and family they had this huge sledding hill. And so everyone would be invited to go sledding with the turbas. And, it was rain or shine, snow, sleet, people would show up, and then they'd have, I'm not sure, I think it was hot chocolate, and I don't know what the food was anymore, but all their neighbors, and it was a farming community, so people came together and just had fun going down the Turba Hill. Any other ideas of people, memories? 4th of July fireworks, okay. And some things may come to mind as we move forward. The heritage, Nancy talked about the lefsa or leafsa. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Nancy, but so some of that may happen. Michelle talks about her 4-H club when she was young, had an annual Halloween party, and they used a white tablecloth that everyone signed and wrote a short message on. It was so fun to look at that. And her mom still has the tablecloth. How neat. And along with that, if you're still in a club, I have Halloween carols, pumpkin carols. And so like there's one out in the pumpkin patch, witch's paws, out jumps the great one, hear the applause. Well, you don't want to hear me sing anymore. But anyway, those are some of the fun things that we do. Going to the A&W for root beer after a day of baling hay. Oh yes, that would be very refreshing, wouldn't it? Great. So some great ideas. And if you think of other ideas now as we are priming the pump, as I talk about this next section, please feel free to share that in the chat. Okay, so moving on then to the traditions. We've experienced different traditions this past year. This 16 months has been just nothing anybody would have anticipated. And so some of the traditions that we enjoyed in our prior years maybe weren't quite the same. And they're important to us though, because as we move forward, it gives us some thought and to think about some of our own personal traditions as we move forward. Our lifestyle, our work style, our family interactions have all been interrupted. We had the pandemic, the social unrest, political unrest, and just life in general. Traditions, as we heard earlier, are important for a number of reasons. So we need to perhaps think about what we want in our life moving forward with some intention and resilience and creativity. So this is where maybe you're not thinking real, don't have the brain going yet for creativity this morning, but we'll try and stir the pot a little bit with thinking about what some of your traditions might be today and moving into the future. So let's go to the next slide, please. So we're going to think about the people that you care about and who's important to you. And it's probably your family comes to mind first. It might be your staff, your agribusiness workers, your neighbors, the people that help you, and to train to focus on the positive. I know neighbors are really important growing up on a farm. My family experienced a barn fire, I think in 1984. I should know that for sure, 84. And I was away at summer school, and I remember hearing my mom when I called to check on things, how things were going. The barn, it was hot hay, and we lost the barn, but not the cattle. And we had enough people in the neighborhood that formed a human chain from our farm to our cousin's farm down the road, about a quarter of a mile, to take our cattle from our farm down to Cletus's farm. Now, that's a powerful neighborhood, and you want to celebrate those things and celebrate the people. So you think about the tragedy of losing a farm, a barn that was in the family. We were one of those century farms, of losing that, but then also the power of the people that are in our lives, our family, our relatives, our neighbors, and our coworkers. So we need to train our brain to focus on the positive. And that's sometimes hard when you're dealing with economic downfall and challenges with the weather, although thankfully we've gotten rain throughout, I think, most of the state now. So hopefully people are feeling a little bit better about their crops. So let's move to the next slide to talk about those traditions that we're starting to establish Again, trying to get whatever our life is going to be moving forward and thinking about what's important to you, your family, and your agribusiness. And so I took the words traditions, and that's how I'm going to talk about the next part of this lesson, our time together, is how we think about our traditions. And so moving to the next slide, the first T is together. So determine who's going to be involved. You can't do everything for everyone. So trying to think of this morning, today is July 12th, who are you going to concentrate on today? Is it your family? Is it your parents, your grandparents? Is it your siblings? Is it your neighbors? Is it your friends? Is it coworkers, staff? Who is it that you'd like to think about establishing or reestablishing a tradition together? So that's the first step. The second step is to think about the next slide, which is rituals. So what is it that you're going to do? Is it a day away from the farm? My memory of a day away from the farm wasn't a sunny, bright day. It was if it rained, we could, my dad determined, we could take a day away from the chore, well, not the chores. I mean, you milked in the morning and you milked at night. That's in the days when you had milking twice a day. But you milked, but if it was raining, we might do something fun as a family. So we took little day trips. And so I remember going to Shawano. I remember going to Cave of the Mounds, doing different things. So it's those kinds of rituals of things that helped us do things together as a family. You could have a staycation fun time. I've seen that more often on Facebook now, where people aren't maybe traveling as much. Maybe that was more last summer. People are traveling a little bit more now, but they're staying home and enjoying what's in their area. Those rituals of that staycation or a day away from the farm, those are some of the things that you could do, like going to the Packer Hall of Fame or going to the Brewers, depending on where you are in the state, or if you're on the west side, going into Minnesota and checking out the Vikings. I don't know if they have anything like the Packers. But anyway, those rituals are important. It could be music that you like. Maybe it's Wednesday night band concerts. It could be gardening. And what is it that you like to do as a family? I know that I've got some friends on Facebook that it's really important to them to share what they're doing with their families and with their gardening. And my brother and his mother have a tomato growing contest of who's going to have the best tomatoes this summer. It might be fishing. In my area, I remember going fishing at the Sheboygan Marsh with my grandpa. Now, all we got were bullheads, so we didn't really eat those, but it was just the joy and fun of taking a day away again from the farm and doing some fishing. It might be some of those special foods that you make, celebrate a good neighbor day, just taking car rides, eating out, flying a kite. And so those are those rituals that are important for you to think about of what you want to maybe bring back or start with your children. The next slide talks about the action. So you have to think about, when is this tradition going to happen? Is it going to be informal? Some people like to do whenever, or some it's on the 31st of each month, because not each month has a 31 days. So when the month is a 31, that's the day that you get away from the farm or you do something fun. Or it might be the 5th Monday, and that might work when kids aren't in school, but you do something fun. Or like I said, if it rains, we're out of here. And we're going to look at some of this further down, but some people like to be very formal. So if you're going to be hosting the whole family for a family reunion, that may take a little planning. And so you may have to think about, the food and the different arrangements that you're going to have, but to be specific about it. So our family is going to have Christmas in July on July 24th. And because we haven't been together, I've got brother that's in Minnesota and others that are in Wisconsin here. But so we're going to have, that's one of our goals, is the family tradition and action, measurable. On the 24th of July is our family Christmas. I don't know if that'll continue or not, because, Christmas in December isn't always the most amenable because of the weather. So maybe it'll be a new tradition. But for 2021, it's Christmas in July. The next slide talks about, is it delicious? Oftentimes our traditions focus around food, as Nancy said. And it could be activities that you savor with special people. I think some people put into their polls like certain salads that come out. And last night on Facebook, someone posted a recipe and they said, "What do you call that?" And I said, "It's a hot dish." And someone said, "No, it's a hot dish that Aunt Doris always made." So, we have different kinds of memories of different kinds of food. Sometimes it's that deliciousness of savoring the sun rising on the first day of summer, or playing a ball game in the rain. I remember playing baseball next to the old machine shed, and it got pretty muddy when we got a lot of rain, but it was still fun, and we knew where the bases were, and my dad knew that he wasn't going to park any farm machinery on that side of the machine shed because that was where the kiddos were going to be playing our baseball. It might be Thursday night pancakes or Friday night fish fry. I belong to a group called Women of Friday Night Fish Fry. And although we don't get together every Friday, it's there. So now I'm seeing in the chat that things are rolling in with people with some of their ideas. Let's see here. Michelle writes, "I know a family that's currently trying to visit different cheese stores like Henning, Cedar Valley, the Cheese Counter, Heritage Center in Plymouth as their day away from the farm, and they bring home some delicious Wisconsin cheese." What a great way of reaching out and knowing your own local resources and supporting the cheese industry. Lisa writes, "Every year I go blueberry picking with my aunt during the first opening weekend of the place we pick at. How fun." Sarah writes, "Some people have a tradition of visiting supper clubs around the state, and there's really good supper club east of Beloit with some live music." So it's those tips and sharing with other people that can really make a difference. I have one story that I tell. Oh yeah, and someone has wineries, breweries, and distilleries. My beans and wieners story. So a friend of mine, every Friday night, she and her family would have beans and wieners every Friday night. So if someone was invited to the house and it was Friday night, you got beans and wieners. And I got used to that. I mean, I didn't go there all that much, but I did. And after I got out of college, it was Christmas time. I had not the best car, and there was a storm coming, and my car wasn't dependable, I should say. And my uncle was going to take me and pick me up and go for family Christmas on Christmas Day, but I was kind of alone on Christmas Eve. I could go to the church service, but after Christmas Eve just kind of felt a little hollow. So Becky invited me to dinner at her mom and dad's for Christmas Eve, and I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. And I like to eat food, as you can see, and I thought, gee, I wonder what we're going to have. And I grew up on a farm, so we didn't eat out of the kettles, but we didn't have those fancy silver dishes with the covers, and if candles came out, it was because the electricity went out and we needed the candles either to pray or to find the fuse box and the the stuff that we needed to get our electricity back. But anyway, I got to their house, and they lived in town and had a formal dining room. Well, we just had a kitchen table. So it was a little bit different and a little bit formal than what I was used to. So anyway, it's Christmas Eve, and I'm thinking, I wonder, it smells like beans. Oh, I bet we're gonna have ham and beans. Okay, that smells good. So anyway, we got in, said a little prayer, and the covers came off, and my mouth just dropped open. I went, oh, it is Saturday night. We had beans and wieners by candlelight on Christmas Eve because it was Saturday night. So that's taking a tradition to the nth degree. But to them, to their family, that was something that was really important. And they wanted to share that with me. And so I got to have beans and wieners and the brown bread. They were from upstate New York. And so there was a brown bread that they baked in a can. But anyway, the traditions can be delicious. Moving on to the next slide is innovative. So being innovative and thinking outside the box of different ideas that you can do, like flying a kite on the first day of spring, or dessert the first day after school is out, creating a food drive for an organization, meet your neighbors as you collect, and I can only imagine the innovation. Last year, I had, during the COVID, not too many people came to my house and rang my doorbell, but it was a Saturday afternoon and I was in the back and the doorbell rang and I went, oh, wonder who it is. And I didn't see a car, but I saw a coaster wagon. And it was my neighbor from 2 blocks down said, we're just hi, in their face masked and everything. We're your neighbors. You probably don't recognize us, but we're 2 blocks down. And we're just going from house to house and doing a food drive, thinking maybe if you might have some things to contribute, you might like to give to the donation. It's like, have I ever? Because I was thinking about things that I wasn't using like I should. They weren't outdated yet, but I really should give them to a food pantry, but I didn't have a good way of knowing where they were even collecting. So it was really neat to meet my neighbors. I know where they live now. So when I drive past their house, I wave, they wave back. But it's just those innovation kinds of things that they did as a family. So imagination is important. And the next slide is your talent. So what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What do you want to learn? What do you want to share or teach with others? Some of the talents that we have may be religious based. Palm Sunday, my dad always wove the palms into a really neat weaving. And as his dementia set in, I knew that his skills, they were still there. He was still doing it, but I wanted to learn how to do that because that was a tradition of what we did on Palm Sunday. Now, other people may have things that they do. It may be singing together, or it may be bowling, and they're really good and they have a bowling league and they take time to do that. But what is your talent and what do you want to learn from others? Sometimes it is that food and learning those techniques of how to make the best Christmas cookies, or what is important to you? What do you want to share and what do you want to teach your grandchildren? So do any things come to mind of things that you've taught your grandchildren or your children, of traditions or things that are important to you that you hope that they'll carry on? Can you think of anything? Yeah, maybe you're still thinking. So we'll go on to the next slide of inspiring. What inspires you and your family? How do you get inspired? Who inspires you? How do you get inspired? Carol writes about the Advent wreath at Christmas time. And Sandy, Mom taught me and my younger sister how to can tomatoes. Okay. And the 4th of July tractor parades. Yes. Those are fun things that you hope that you can pass on to others and know what to do. So what is inspiring to you and important to you that you want to pass on? Those are some of the things to think about. My dad was a real good mechanic, and he had an 9N Ford tractor that he completely took apart. Once he moved to town, he took the whole tractor apart, cleaned it up and tuned it up and painted it. And then he used it to clean up the driveway. I think he was the only tractor in town, but it came in handy one snowstorm when my parents were taking care of my my niece, great niece, and they needed diapers. So he took the tractor to the grocery store with a little snowplow on. Anyway, he was pretty innovative, but that was inspiring to others. And now my cousin has that same tractor on the farm. So those are kinds of those inspiring things, those skills that you have. I have one friend that loves to make dill pickles, and she just doesn't throw the pickles in the jar. She lines them up precisely. And then she also enters in the county fair to see how well she's doing with others. But those are things that inspire people, and they're things that think they're kind of fun. Then we have optimism on the next slide. And that's looking at the bright side. So these traditions, as we look at things, kind of help us see the good that's in life and looking forward to things. And planning is part of the adventure, bringing out the happiness in your life. I have a friend who just gave a bridal shower, actually 2 friends that gave bridal showers for their future daughter-in-laws. And it's wonderful to see, you know, the time that's taken in helping the families come together and meet one another and understand each other and some of our traditions and things that we like to do. So it's just that optimism of looking to the future and bringing happiness and joy to others. The next slide talks about, hopefully it's low cost, no cost. So traditions don't have to cost a lot of money. Now, I talked about some different sites to see around the state of Wisconsin as a family. That's going to cost you some gas money. But it's the time together in the car and the traveling and the sightseeing and the things that you do. You don't have to break the bank. So find inexpensive ways to achieve some of the same goals of spending time together with family, and making it a fun adventure is really important. And the next slide talks about our smiles, feeling good about life. When we celebrate those traditions and look at where we are today and our future, it just brings out that joy and laughter so that you can soak up the good feelings and things that are happening. So our challenge of the day on the next slide is for you to think about a tradition that you want to incur. Could be something you've done in the past, something you've thought about trying, or something new. And so if you have a piece of paper handy, try and think about, what is it that you plan to do? That's the S. Is it measurable? How are you going to measure if you've done it or not? Is it achievable? Can we make that happen? R, is it realistic? And T, is it time-based? So is it specific? What do you plan to do? So in my family, July 24th, it's the Dickrell Christmas in July party. Is it measurable? Well, everybody's signing on and we're deciding what we're going to be bringing. And we're not going to, well, someone said Christmas sweaters and we decided that's too hot. So we're going to go with Christmas t-shirts. That's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. And is that achievable? Well, yeah, you can put a button, or I've got crazy hats, so I might bring my crazy hats along. So it's going to be achievable. Is it realistic? Yes. Yes, it is realistic. We can make it happen. Is it time-based? Yes, we've got a date and that's when we're going to get together. So it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it might be a neighborhood bonfire, or it might be, just inviting people over for a picnic, or at a local park, a county park. Outagamie County has some really great resources and parks of things. If you're looking for things to do and want to come over to Outagamie, we have some wonderful county parks. We even have Plowman Park that has a farm for children, and they love to do that. We have Mosquito Hill, which, yeah, they have some mosquitoes, but that's not really how it got its name, I guess. But they've got lots of hiking there. So, find out what those resources are in your community and go from there. So we'll give you a little bit of time to think. And then on the next slide, we're going to ask if you could share some of your ideas of things that you might want to do. So we'll give you 3 or 4 minutes to do some thinking. And maybe you can start to put into chat what you're thinking of doing.
Karen, I might add, one of the lovely benefits from COVID has been getting to know my neighbors a lot better than I ever had. And so I've been kind of thinking about, somehow having a neighborhood get together, whether it's, a bags contest or a night of just chatting and pulling up the lawn chairs. But yeah, I'd really like to do something a little more formalized than just, meeting while you're walking your dog.
Great. Okay. Sarah writes, we're planning on building our porch back onto our farmhouse so we can enjoy sitting on the porch and visiting with passerby people. How neat. Yes, that porch, and people actually sitting on the porches and seeing things. I had new neighbors move in and I didn't know, it was in the winter when they moved, I think. And it wasn't until the COVID, when they were outside, that we started to talk to each other. And they have a little girl named Lainey and a dog. And I can never remember the dog's name. I think it's Rara. But it's true, during the pandemic, some of us have lived where we live forever and they know everyone in our neighborhoods, but some of us may not, because we weren't home much. And so we didn't know each other. So thanks, everyone. And feel free to share your ideas. You can send information or questions to Nancy or to me. We appreciate your attendance. We've gotten our resources from a variety of journals and articles, and Nancy cited some research when she was presenting as well. So thank you so much. I think now we'll turn it over back to Sarah.
Well, thank you so much, Karen and Nancy, for your presentation. I learned so many really cool ideas for traditions, and I kind of miss not working in the garden more with my dad, because I could have learned things that I can put to use now. And so, yeah, when you look back, it really brings back some really fond memories. Does anyone have any questions for the presenters? You can either open up your mic or you can type it into the chat. Either way works. So let's see. From Sandy Stutchen, we have curious. Is it mostly the family's women who keep traditions alive, or do the men folk value it too?
I think it depends. I have a cousin who has a tradition of getting together, and he's a farmer. He's a retired farmer now, but they get together once a month in a machine shed where one of the farm wives gets together and cuts everyone's hair. And then they play cards after that. And I consider that a tradition. It's also when they all catch up on everybody's news and what's happening with everyone. And I'm not sure if it continued during COVID or not. But so there's some, I think, men that value it. I think the card playing kinds of things, those kinds of traditions, things that they enjoy doing, bowling, some of the sports, maybe playing basketball. So it may not involve the family per se, but it may be interests that they have with others. I don't know. What do other people think?
Or if it's competitive,
Yeah.
then they might be interested.
I've got a question. How do you involve people that live afar, like military people that are stationed overseas, or even if your mother or father is now in a home and maybe they have Alzheimer's and they don't even know who their family members are? How do you keep traditions alive when things keep changing in your life, in your family?
Well, I might just add, so this is where you maybe are creating the new traditions because circumstances have changed. I know my family is not close by, so we started it started out as a weekly Zoom family meeting, and then now it's like monthly because we don't feel we need to meet as much. But we might keep that going. Even we've all enjoyed it, so we've got a new tradition that has started. Karen can speak probably more on the challenges when there's some type of dementia or that.
Yeah, there are challenges with that. So you can celebrate. That's where that portable kit came in handy with my dad. We took the kit and he wore the funniest hats, and he just smiled and we had fun with it. Many of the places where people do live in assisted living have a party room. So if your family can reserve that spot, and sometimes you have to work ahead to make sure that it's available for birthdays and inviting people. People with dementia, probably not too large a group, trying to keep it manageable. So it's some of the things that people that they enjoy. Thinking about what they enjoyed in previous years, if it's a special birthday cake that they liked, that peeks back some memories, or maybe they like chocolate chip cookies. So you don't have a birthday cake, you just have a cookie and milk party. So building on the past memories of what they did enjoy. I think the Zoom has opened some doors for people like with the military and people that don't live close by, and even phone calls, really important phone calls. And some of those traditions don't have to be fancy. I know of some people where Sunday night is the check-in night, so that's when they call their loved one. And they can kind of count on that is the time that you call in and just see how everything's going and get updated for the week. So Do other people have some ideas? With my mom in assisted living, we would decorate her apartment, and she had a little place outside her door, and people just loved to see what the Dickrell girls were putting up this month of different things that we had. So, and that brought her pride too, because people would stop by then and see what was, you know, in her doorway. And then after Christmas, there's that letdown of all the decorations go down. Well, we had snowmen, and the grandkids and great grandkids all had a snowman that represented them in the room. So that was also a neat kind of way of people coming in to visit and see her, and it was a tradition. So then when she passed away, they all got their snowman back.
So at this time, I'll turn it back over to Jackie, and she's got a few comments about upcoming programs for, and thank you so much again, Karen and Nancy. It was very, very interesting.
Thank you everyone who attended, especially to Nancy and Karen for presenting. We hope you guys enjoyed the discussion and learned something new about the importance of traditions, not only in one's family, but in the workplace as well. Next month will be our last coffee chat for the summer. There is still plenty of time to register and to join in as we discuss ideas for starting dinner conversations that will nourish everyone at the table. And with that, I want to thank everyone who joined us today. We hope you had fun, that you learned something new, and that you will sign up for our fall lineup of Heart of the Farm coffee chats. Thanks.